Hello everybody, it's Chef Emme. Welcome to Soul and Spice Kitchen. I'm so glad that you're here. Today we are making a picanha con vinagrete, and this recipe is super delicious, but most importantly of all, it's going to save you some bucks. Now you don't have to head over to those expensive Brazilian steakhouses, churrascarias, to get this delicious piece of meat picanha. You're gonna learn how to make a juicy, flavorful, delicious picanha right at home. I'm gonna show you how. It's super quick, super easy. Let's do this together, okay? First and foremost, we have our picanha cut steak. Easy to find at any of the grocery stores now. You can just head over to the butcher department and just ask for a picanha cut or a top sirloin cap is what it is. And then for our vinagrete, we have our yellow onions, tomatoes, some fresh cilantro, and we're gonna make things a little spicy here, you know, soul and spice. We're gonna use some habanero peppers. And then to season our picanha, we keep it simple. We keep it simple in Brazil. I think that like a lot of people always ask if things are spicy or just like, what spices do we use when we cook in Brazil? And we like to keep it clean and simple. Obviously, we salt our food. And then for most meats, we use black pepper and cumin together, equal parts. And we actually call it pimenta cominho, which literally translates to pepper cumin. So that's what we're gonna be seasoning our steak with today. And then we're gonna do a nice little sear, put it in the oven, and we'll be ready to go. So let's start with our picanha. We're gonna make sure that this cut of meat is pretty thick, so you really wanna get a lot of salt in there. We're gonna make sure that we are rubbing it in everywhere. We wanna get salt everywhere. And I'm using kosher salt, which is a little bit more coarse. And then after we got our salt on there, we're gonna do equal parts of the cumin and pepper. We're again just gonna rub it in top and bottom. A little bit of our black pepper. And there you go. So most people, when they think of Brazilian food, they think of churrascaria food. If you've ever been to a churrascaria, Brazilian steakhouse, yes, it's delicious, but it really doesn't represent all of Brazil and all of Brazilian food. That type of food is really more of a southern specialty. The gauchos of southern Brazil are really the experts in churrasco. So it's not, I wouldn't classify it really as like Brazilian food in general, but definitely like a specialty. All right, we got it nice and seasoned, and I'm gonna head over here to our saute pan, and we are gonna get some oil. Now you can use canola oil, veggie oil. You just wanna make sure that you use an oil that can withstand high heat. You don't wanna use something like an olive oil because it'll burn and it won't taste very good when you sear your meat. We wanna get this nice and hot. And we know that it's nice and hot when you kind of start seeing some smokiness coming out of. You wanna put your hands over it and feel the heat. And your oil also starts to really like glisten and move all over your pan. Again, we wanna make sure that it's nice and hot because we want a really good sear on that top fat part of our sirloin, picanha. All right, y'all, I'm feeling the heat. I think we're good. I hope that when we put this in, we're gonna hear a nice, loud sizzle. And we didn't, so it's not hot yet. Gotta be patient. Gotta be nice and patient. I'm gonna leave that at high and wait for it to get nice and hot. All right, I think our oil is hot enough for our steak. Again, we wanna get a nice heat going here because we wanna get some sear on this picanha. Nice, you hear that sizzle? That's literally exactly what you want. That means our heat is nice and high, and we're just gonna sear this. We wanna get like a nice golden brown color on that fat cap. And then we're gonna flip it and we're gonna put it into our oven at about 425 degrees and let that cook until it is nice and about like medium well. Although in Brazil, we tend to like our meats more on the well side. But again, Soul and Spice is all about, my Brazilian roots with my Pacific Northwest upbringing. And I think that we Americans kind of like it more on the medium side. So I like mine in between, like a medium well, of course. But we'll leave it in the oven to your preference. We'll be doing about a medium well. So let me flip this over here so y'all can see the nice golden color. That's exactly what you want. We're gonna sear it a little bit on the other side, just to get some color. And then it's going right into the oven. All right, while that's cooking, we're gonna get to our vinaigrette. So like I was saying earlier, I think one of the top questions that I get about Brazilian food is, oh, is it spicy? And it's not. Honestly, Brazilian food is not spicy at all. We in Bahia, the state of Bahia of Brazil, we do like a little kick, a little hint of spiciness, but our spice is always served on the side, so you can add it however much you want to what you're eating. And today we're gonna be making a vinaigrette, which is like one of the typical condiment, if you will, when you're eating churrasco. You must have vinaigrette, and it's basically a Brazilian style pico. Brazilian style because instead of lime, we're gonna use vinegar. That's what we use for the little kick of acidity in this. So first and foremost, we're gonna start with our onion. And to cut our onion, I have a little trick to cutting it the best way. We're gonna see this little top root part with the hair. We're gonna leave that intact. We're not gonna cut it off because when we're dicing our onions, that's gonna help it stay intact and not fall apart when we're cutting it. So we're just gonna slice off this bottom part. We're gonna slice it in half. And then we're gonna peel the outer peel of the onion. And then this way, when we keep the root, the little hairy part intact, it's gonna hold the onion together and it doesn't fall apart. So we're gonna slice it this way. And then we're gonna get nice little small dice because I just think it looks so much more refined and prettier. You're gonna get as small as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we're only gonna use half of the onion today for this. So we add our onions. And then comes our tomatoes. I'm using some Roma tomatoes, but you can get creative if you have some heirloom tomatoes that you really love. I love those in the summer if you're making this dish in the summertime. Some beautiful, colorful heirloom tomatoes would go really great. You can use the steakhouse, I think is what they call it, tomatoes, the nice round ones. You can use cherry tomatoes and just maybe cut them in half. It's really, this is what I love about cooking is you can really make it your own. Once you know the basis of cooking methods and the basis of a recipe, you can really take it in and make it your own. So we got our tomatoes and we're gonna do little slices. You wanna cut it about 1/4 of an inch. Again, I like to keep it nice and small cuts because I just think it looks a lot prettier when you kind of top the steak with it. And we're gonna get our tomatoes, kind of layer them maybe 3 on top of the other, and we're gonna do a nice small dice. This is perfect. And just like the tomato for the onion, if you have a white onion or a red onion, you can totally substitute those for the yellow onion that we use for this recipe. I think that for onions, yes, they do have some of them serve better purpose. I like to eat the red and the white in salad, especially the white because it's a little bit more mild and a little sweeter. Those are great for salads. I really like the yellow or the sweet onion for cooking because it gets really nice caramelization and that sweetness when you cook it. But, you know, if you only have red or you only have white, go ahead and substitute. If you have shallots and you don't have onion, that's another really great substitute for that. So I'm just gonna finish up slicing my other tomato for our vinaigrette. Again, this is like the #1 condiment when you're having churrasco, whether it be in your backyard or if you're eating churrasco in one of those Brazilian steakhouse churrascarias. This is a must. This is totally a must. It's like if you're eating wings, you must have hot sauce. Like I feel like if you're eating a picanha or a nice steak, you must have vinaigrette with it. It's just like the meat is super fatty and like rich, and the acidity from this vinaigrette really like cuts down like the richness, gives it a nice little kick from both the vinegar and the habaneros that we're gonna add. Yeah, this is gonna be it. So really use your best judgment if you wanna use 1 or 2. I will say that if you are looking to kind of decrease the heat, you can remove the seeds. The seeds are what has like the most heat in any pepper. So if you want a little bit of heat, but you don't want it to kick your butt, just remove the seed and kind of just add the flesh. I like a little heat, so I'm gonna keep our seeds intact, and I'm just gonna dice these as small as I can, and then I'm gonna go back and kind of do a nice fine chop. We wanna just make sure that we're cutting these nice and small because we want it to get really like all in throughout our vinaigrette. You don't want anybody just taking a big old bite of just like a large chunk of habanero. That's not gonna be any fun. And I'm just gonna go through it, finely chop it. Make sure that when you're done dealing with this, you don't rub your eye, you don't touch your face, like you immediately go wash your hands because it's pretty spicy and you don't want to burn your eyes. Now cilantro, I love, and I feel like you either love or hate it. And I just absolutely freaking love cilantro. We use it a lot in Brazilian food. And it's just like adds a nice like freshness to this dish. I'm just gonna chop it up, kind of gather it all together and go through it all once, chop in like this, and then like how we did the habanero, just go through and chop it up. Now I did say that this is, I mean, as you can see, really resembles a pico de gallo. The only difference here that makes this a Brazilian style pico de gallo, or vinaigrette, as we call it in Portuguese, is that pico de gallo, you use lime, and for this, we use vinegar. In Brazil, we use distilled vinegar, like distilled white vinegar. We're gonna fancy it up a little bit in this kitchen today, and we're gonna use white wine vinegar. It's still gonna offer a lot more of that kick of like acidity, but then you get like a hint of that like white wine in there. Okay, so let's mix this all up. We're gonna add some salt. So yeah, the lime, the like other style pico de gallo with the lime is a little bit more milder. It's not super like acidic. This one's a little bit more, it packs more of that like punch because of the vinegar. I'm gonna add some salt in there. And here's the thing, here's what sets you apart in the kitchen as just like, you know, an average cook to like a really good, great home cook / chef is really tasting as you go. That's like what all chefs do. You know, we don't season in the beginning or just season in the end. We're seasoning all the way throughout and we're tasting as we go and we're adjusting. So, you know, I sprinkled some salt. I'm gonna add the vinegar and oil. I'm gonna taste it and I'm gonna see does it need a little bit more salt? Does it need a little bit more vinegar? That's how we're gonna do this, okay? So we're gonna add our white wine vinegar. I'm gonna start out with about a tablespoon. And I'm using some veggie oil, but you wanna make sure that you use like an oil that doesn't have like too much flavor to it. That's a little bit more neutral because you don't want the flavor of the oil to really, what's the word? What's the word, y'all? I feel like sometimes I just can't think of words like in English, because especially when I'm doing like Brazilian dishes and I'm thinking in Portuguese, they'll like kind of fight each other. Yeah, like don't really want to use like coconut oil. Even olive oil has a little bit of like that stronger taste to it. You want something neutral that doesn't really like interfere. That's the word I'm looking for, interfere. I knew my English would come back to me. All right, let's taste this and see if we have to adjust anything. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil. That habanero, yeah, you get a little kick from that. I mean, I'm gonna add a little bit more salt, but the vinegar is on point. You want it to, when you take a bite, you want that like punch in your mouth from both the spiciness of the habanero and the acidity from the vinegar. You want it to be like nice and tangy and acidic. Perfect, and that's it. This is our beautiful, and I mean, it looks really gorgeous too. A nice vinagrete Brazilian style pico de gallo. I think our steak should be ready any moment. We're gonna take that out of the oven, slice it up, and we're gonna serve it up with this beautiful vinagrete. All right, our picanha is ready to get out of this oven and into our plates. Oh, do you hear that sizzle? Oh my gosh. Y'all, how beautiful is this? Honestly, I can't. Let's transfer it over to our cutting board. So we do want to let it rest a little bit. We don't cut into any steak after, you know, we pull it out from the heat, because the juices are still in there, and when it cools down a little bit, then we can start slicing into it. So delicious. All right, let's cut into it. So let me tell you how we're gonna cut into it. You see that like these fibers are kind of going this way. So we always wanna kind of cut across. If you get in there, you see that the beef itself kind of has like little lines, and we're always wanting to cut across whatever that line the beef is going, the direction it's going. So we're gonna do a nice, yeah, across the fibers, or else it's gonna be like chewy. Nice. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. Look at this, y'all. Oh my gosh. You make this at home, you're gonna be a rock star. This is such a classic, easy dish to put together, to wow your friends. I mean, what in the world? And the magic touch is our vinagrete that we're gonna top off on our picanha. This is the ultimate Brazilian steak at home, no churrascarias, super quick and easy, picanha com vinagrete. I'm so ready to dig in, like my mouth is watering. I can't even talk anymore. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Chef Emme. You are in my soul and spice kitchen. Follow me on Instagram at @chefemme_. Hashtag, if you use this food, if you use this recipe to make your food, don't forget to hashtag soul and spice so I can see what you're doing at home cooking with me. I'm ready to dig in. See y'all next time.